We are the fourth. We are Ohio.
Yesterday, the Reds put the finishing touches, flexing their muscles and playing small ball in Los Angeles en route to their sixth consecutive win. They look for number 7 tonight in San Francisco. And we welcome you on a lovely night in downtown San Francisco to AT&T Park. The opening game of a 3-game series, the Red-Hot Reds taking on the slumping San Francisco Giants. And I get everybody alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome as always, late night to Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Reds winners of 6 in a row, and Chris, that's good enough for the hottest team right now in all of Major League Baseball.
Well, you know, anytime you win 6 in a row and then 4 in a row against the Los Angeles Dodgers, you make a lot of friends up here in the Bay Area because they don't like the Dodgers up here at all. But this Reds offense just irrepressible, really. I mean, look at what they've done here. They're scoring more like 5 runs a game now instead of earlier in the year scoring 2 runs a game. Their pitching is lights out. Their relief pitching is even better than that. This is a ball club that's rolling along pretty well right now.
All right, so let's turn the page and who's responsible for trying to get them to 7 in a row. And that would be arguably right now the hottest pitcher on the hottest team in baseball, Sal Romano.
Well, you know, he's done a really good job of staying out of trouble, Romano has. He keeps the ball in the ballpark for the most part. He doesn't walk a lot of batters. He doesn't strike out a lot. But he's got that heavy 2-seam fastball that he throws to the first base side of home plate. He's got a nice changeup and a good slider. But most of all, he pitches with that fastball. And that's one thing. That's if you've got that weapon can travel.
Meanwhile, for the Giants, this is a team that is built to win right now. They're suffering through a lot of injuries. The biggest acquisition of any team in Major League Baseball during the offseason is when the Giants brought in the longtime Pirate great Andrew McCutchen, and right now he's playing good baseball.
Well, he's got a lot of baseball left in him, I can tell you that. He got re-energized, I think, when he came out here to the Bay Area. He's on a long streak right now, 12-game hitting streak overall, batting up over 370 during that period of time. He's not playing center field, he's playing in right field, but he's a guy that is a savvy baseball player. He can hit the fastball, and he's the one batter in this lineup that has faced before Sal Romano.
2 for 9 is McCutchen against Romano in his career. Well, we've talked about the hottest team, the hottest pitcher. How about the hottest player? Not just for the Reds. Jim Day has that story when we come back. Scooter scooting right down the highway with that red-hot bat.
League Player of the Week. How about a .591 average over the week? Couple of doubles, 4 home runs, and that was 4 straight games with a home run. 10 RBI and 7 runs scored. It's the second time in his career he has been National League Player of the Week. I'm Jim Day. Joining me right now is the aforementioned National League Player of the Week. How much of an honor is it for you?
It's a great honor. You know, whenever you're recognized for what you're doing at your work, it's always a good thing. And in baseball, there's so many good players out there. There's a lot of guys that had great weeks, probably deserving of the, of the award. But it's an honor. It's definitely a good feeling.
You had the home runs in 4 consecutive games, but it was much more than that. The .591 average, and you're spraying the ball all over the park. Do you feel even better about that?
Yeah, my approach is pretty simple. If it looks like a strike, I'm going to swing, and if it's outside, the idea is to hit it to left field. If it's inside, the idea is to pull it. And I just try to keep it simple and not try to overthink anything.
I imagine even more satisfying as it comes during a 6-game winning streak for the team.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what matters, Jim. If we hadn't won all those games, it wouldn't feel as good. And that's how it should be.
And a .591 clip, your shoulder's feeling better, no pressure. We're expecting you to hit .591 this week, too.
All right, sounds good.
I wasn't going to ask you if you were seeing the ball well, because I've already known that answer.
Yeah, it's white with red laces.
Thank you very much, Scooter Gennett.
Welcome, Jim.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
All right, Scooter Gennett's not the only one who brought home some awards. Coming up, we're talking about a bully of a pen. Warming you up for the Reds and Giants here on Fox Sports Ohio. Up only at your Tri-State Chevy dealers. And by Skyline Chili, feeling good, it's Skyline time. Well, we just talked to National League Player of the Week, Scooter Gennett. Reds were also named Bullpen of the Week by Major League Baseball. How about a 0.95 ERA, best in the bigs over the week, 4 saves, 165 opponents hitting off of this bullpen, 32 punch-outs tied for second, and 28 1/3 innings pitched. So this bullpen, part of the reason the Reds have won 6 straight games. Here's the skipper on his bullpen.
It's very comforting to know that you can go to somebody and they're not overwhelmed by the situation from the 7th to the 9th inning. They're composed and throwing strikes, and you don't always get them out, but if you're throwing it over the plate like our guys have been doing, then somebody make a play for you and get out of an inning.
It's been a versatile bullpen, which the skipper loves. Look at Garrett, 4 2/3 innings pitched, no hits and no runs. Iglesias, 4 saves over the week. David Hernandez was outstanding. A dynamic duo, Hernandez and Hughes yesterday, and Austin Bryce got his first career win in that Dodgers series. So he's got a multitude of studs coming out of the pen right now to go to. And it's another reason, again, 6 straight for this Reds club. They would like to make it 7. 7 would be heaven. Can they get it? We'll find out together. Late night action here on Fox Sports Ohio.
May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, what a beautiful setting it is. AT&T Park right on the San Francisco Bay. Chilly temperatures tonight. Those bundled up. The jackets in the Reds dugout being worn already even before the first pitch. Certainly a storyline to keep an eye on, presented by Elk & Elk. Only teams with a winning percentage of 500 or better against the Giants, and of course since 08 they've won 3 World Series. Look at the Reds, 40-27 against San Francisco, but of course all Reds fans, they say to themselves that's fine and dandy, except the 3 losses in the 2012 Division Series.
Those ones still sting, don't they?
They really sting.
It's like salt in the wound, and I hate to go back and revisit that, but you have to a little bit give some credit to the Giants for climbing back off the mat.
No question.
And taking it right to the Reds and winning those games and winning the series. Pat Kelly and the manager Jim Riggleman are all set to go, riding a 6-game hit streak, and they're going to be facing, well, he's going to send a lineup that starts out with Jesse Winker.
Presented by Nissan, then Peraza and Votto. We'll see Jeanette, Suarez, and Schebler in the middle. Barnhart, Romano in the 8th spot. Hamilton, number 9. Chris Stratton on the mound.
Young right-hander, kid did his college work down at Mississippi State, a former #1 draft pick, 20th pick overall in a draft that took him in 2012. SEC Player of the Year or Pitcher of the Year that year. And he's got a really good curveball, but he throws a lot of fastballs. Just kind of spots it up around the zone.
So here we go. Jesse Winker looks at ball 1. This one underway, the first of 3 between the Reds and the Giants. Here in the city by the bay, you see the numbers. The season started beautifully for Stratton. I mean, you worked through the middle of April, the last, in fact, week of April, and he was on quite a roll. like we're seeing with some of these young Red starters. He had a 1-hit game, no runs in 7 innings. Another 7-inning start, 5 hits, 1 run, pitched into the 7th, gave up 2 runs, and they're thinking we might finally have that guy who was a first-round pick. But then all of a sudden, his last 3 starts, spanning a total of 11 innings, he has given up 13 earned runs. 2-1 to Winker. You know, a couple of things really jump out on Stratton, and realizing, you know, the sample size is what it is. But the daytime between the nighttime, it's incredible. And there you see what he's done more recently as opposed to the way he started. But at nighttime, his ERA is under 3.5. During the day, the earned run average is over 11. And he's pitched in a number of day games already this year. It's not like one bad game. The other difference, as that one's in the air to straightaway center field, where balls go to die in this cavernous ballpark, is the way he has pitched at home as opposed to on the road. A pitcher's paradise, but his ERA in 3 starts is almost 7. In 5 road starts, his ERA is 3.5.
Well, the one home start that just killed him was the 3rd time of the season that he faced the Los Angeles Dodgers. He pitched 1 inning and gave up 6 runs. So that'll balloon you up because you really don't have, even at this point, total of 43 innings pitched. So, you know, I think that an earned run average doesn't even begin to resemble anything that you can judge by until you get about 100 innings under your belt. But, you know, they're happy to be home. The Giants are. They had a miserable time on the road trip, especially through the state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, they had a 10-gamer and they won the first 3 games on the trip, and you're thinking, okay, you're off and running. Then all of a sudden you lose the next 6 until they beat the Phillies yesterday. Of course, part of that road trip, the homecoming for Andrew McCutchen, going back to Pittsburgh, and that unbelievable standing ovation that seemed as though it would never end for McCutchen when he was introduced for the first time in a series. One ball, 2 strikes on Jose Peraza, a .273 batter. And Stratton misses with a fastball up. The Reds' 6-game win streak, the longest active streak in all of Major League Baseball, and their longest since winning 6 straight in 2013. There's strike 3 called, and Peraza knew it. Look at Bruce Bochy's team on defense, presented by Ford. So many injured players. No Joe Panik, no Hunter Pence, among others. They do have the star catcher Posey and longtime Giants Crawford and Belt in the infield. They brought in Evan Longoria during the offseason, one of the 2 big acquisitions along with McCutchen.
Joey Votto fakes a bunt to third base. That's where Longoria, or not actually, Longoria is playing in the shift. It looks like Brandon Crawford's out there, and he just kind of tips his hat to him. Says, I just wanted to say hi. I'm probably coming to you with a line drive rather than a bunt. Here's Longoria. He's the third baseman.
Saw the same thing during the Dodgers series. They moved their third baseman over and leave the shortstop. And a ground ball right in between the 2. Look at Crawford. He is some kind of defender, as is Belt at first. Beautifully done on both ends. A 1-2-3 opening inning for Stratton. Flash in the leather. Brandon Crawford and Brandon Belt. here at home this year. Their Nissan lineup has Blanco, McCutcheon, and Posey to start it. Brandon Belt, the cleanup hitter. Longoria third with Crawford, the shortstop. Austin Jackson, Kelby Tomlinson, the second baseman, and Stratton on the mound. And Sal Romano, a sparkling 1.5 ERA so far here in the month of May. Overall, 3.83. This will be his 9th start. Has a ball in there, a strike.
Coming off a real solid outing, too. That against the New York Mets. 6 innings, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. Did not get a win in that ball game, although the Reds ended up winning 2-1. If you haven't watched Romano before, I think the thing that you look for early from him is his ability to throw that ball on the first base side of home plate, inside the left-hander. Not a lot of right-handers can live in there and be successful. But he comes right after you on the inner part of the plate. And what that means is that once you establish yourself on the first base side of home plate, tough spot to get to for righties. It's a lot easier to get to that third base side. That's where you've got a lot more tail on your pitches.
And there's that tail you're talking about. We saw that a great deal in his last start to the left-handed batters.
You know, the first time I saw this pitch on a consistent basis, it was one that was run up there by Greg Maddux. And now more and more pitchers are beginning to throw that. Danny Graves had a very good one when he was pitching with the Reds. Sam LeCure, same way. He had that front door fastball. But the difference, I think, is that Romano throws that pitch about 95 miles an hour in there. With that one up and in, McCutcheon's thinking, am I back in a Pirates uniform?
No one used to do that more regularly than Aroldis Chapman. It seemed like every time McCutcheon would come to bat against him, and of course it would only be one time in the 8th or the 9th inning. But I mean, Chapman would buzz him up under the chin the very first pitch seemingly in every at bat. And as you know, the Reds and the Pirates set an all-time record over a 3-year time frame for most batters hit between two teams over a 3-year run. McCutcheon a base hit in a season-best 12 straight games. It's the longest active streak in the National League, second only to Francisco Lindor among all major leaguers. Lindor has hit in 14 in a row. And McCutcheon has reached base safely in his last 23 games. Crushed into left field, low line drive up against the wall, and make it a hit in 13 in a row for McCutcheon, a stand-up double.
Where you talk about centering it up on the sweet spot, it was right there for McCutcheon. In that at bat, it seemed like Romano kept throwing those high fastballs and threw him right by McCutcheon. That one he got down low around the belt, a good spot to swing and get the bat head through and hit it about as hard as he can hit it.
Longtime face of this franchise, their perennial all-star catcher Buster Posey. Hard to believe this guy's now 31 years old. It just seems like yesterday he came to the big leagues. But what a career he has had. Hit .320 last year. Only the 11th catcher in National League history with at least 4 career seasons batting .300 or better.
Well, there's no question about it that Buster Posey is the best pure hitting catcher in the major leagues. And he's the clutch guy. He always has been that for the Giants. At the end of the year, you're not going to add up his home runs because he's not playing in really a hitter's ballpark. I just wonder what he could do if he was playing in a hitter's ballpark.
No kidding.
And you brought it up many times, Tom. I mean, if you play in this division, not only are you, if you play for the Giants, not only are you playing in a cold, cavernous ballpark where the ball just really doesn't go at all except during day games, but you're also playing in 3 other ballparks where it really favors the pitchers as well. We just came from one there in Dodger Stadium. The deeper you get into a game there, the colder it gets, the heavier the air gets, and the less the ball travels. San Diego. Try hit one out of there sometime. Let's really have Colorado and Arizona both, I would say, pitcher or hitters ballparks.
Although, you know, in Arizona, they now use a humidor like they do in Colorado.
Made a big difference, hasn't it?
2-1 the count on Buster Posey. Runner at second, 1 out, just underway in the last of the first inning. A fastball right by him. Not packing him in the seats like they have really since they opened this ballpark. They still draw unbelievably well, make no mistake about it. And it is a beautiful place to watch a game. Two. Count goes full. Giants had that run where in 2010, 2012, 2014 they won the World Series each of those years, first 3 in the history of the franchise since moving to California. They last made the playoffs 2 years ago. 3-2 on Posey. And he'll take the 1-out walk. Reds on defense, presented by Ford. Hamilton with lots of room to run in this ballpark. Flanked by Winker and Schebler, the regular group back together with Jeanette getting an off day yesterday. Named the National League's Player of the Week today, if you didn't hear. And Romano and Barnhart the battery. Tony Cruz to start yesterday. They call it just maintenance of that bothersome shoulder of Jeanette. That's why he got an off day yesterday, a day game after a night game. Here's Brandon Belt. This Giant team is coming off a series, a 4-game series against the Phillies, where they struck out almost 70 times in 4 games. 70. That ball driven hard. And I mean to tell you, you need a bazooka to get it out of here. It is incredible how far that ball was just hit.
That ball would be off the glass in Cincinnati, not just over the center field fence, not on the grassy berm, but off the glass of the batter's eye. I mean, Belt just unloads on this pitch, but you know what? You pitch to the dimensions of your ballpark. You write it down as a fly ball out to the center fielder, and Sal Romano now just 1 out away from getting out of this inning. Don't worry about it, Sal.
Evan Longoria, a .238 batter, 8 home runs, 21 batted in, all those outstanding years with the Tampa Bay Rays, and now a Giant. You and I were talking before the game. It is just, it's incredible. It's just overwhelming, the difference between a game in the northern part of California as opposed to the southern part of California. Back up through the middle, and there's a base hitting to center field. They are going to wave around the runner, and McCutchen will easily score, and the Giants have taken a 1-0 lead on a 2-out single by Longoria.
Boy, baseball's not fair, is it? I mean, Brandon Belt hit a ball 395 feet, exit velocity about 103 miles per hour, nothing. Just a fly ball that meant nothing. And here you got a little dribbler, a 28 hopper that goes up the middle with 2 outs and scores a run. You pick up an RBI, the Giants pick up the early lead.
San Francisco first inning continues for the shortstop Brandon Crawford, and he laces one down the left field line into the corner. Will score at least one, maybe two. They're going to wave around the trail runner. That's Longoria, and he will score as the relay throw gets by Peraza. A 3-run Giants opening inning, 2-run double by Crawford.
Well, you know, the one thing that I noticed while going over the stat sheet on Sal Romano is that he throws his fastball on the first pitch anywhere from 75 to 80% of the time to lefties and righties. And I'm reading the same thing the Giants are. So they're up there ready to go early in the count on a heater, knowing that they're not going to get a get-ahead curveball or a changeup or anything like that. Crawford was ready. It was tailing away from him. He laced it the other way, picked up a couple of ribbies. Now, that's not really the stat sheet that I get that information off. I mean, it's off a public website that anybody can look at called Brooks Baseball. And it's very enlightening as to patterns and sequences of pitchers and what their averages are against certain pitches. And it's the same thing, I'm sure, that many of the analytic departments in ball clubs are looking at to try to develop pitching plans and hitting plans. So it's when nowadays it's even tougher for a pitcher to stay one step ahead of the hitters because they're getting so much help from very smart mathematicians down in the catacombs of the stadium.
Straight up in the air. And Jeanette fortunate not to trip over that bag with that final step. Big start for the Giants. Up 3-0 at the end of one. Miller Lite, the guy who's been giving the Reds lots of big-time moments here of late, is Scooter Gennett. Wow, what a week. And recognized for it, being named the National League's Player of the Week, second time in his career, and the second Reds player this season to receive the award, the other being Joey Votto the final week of April. In 5 games, this guy had 13 hits. with 2 doubles, 4 home runs, and 10 runs batted in. And of course, that includes a streak where he homered in 4 straight games for the first time in his career. Slaps it the other way, and he's retired his first time up tonight.
They really love what they got in Evan Longoria over here. He's well, Ron Wotus, the bench coach and a guy that is in charge of a lot of the infield, just calls him a ball player. I mean, you can never find him without his glove nearby. I mean, he takes ground ball after ground ball. I mean, until he's just tireless taking those infields. And I mean, they got a real pro when they picked him up. And when you feel like you're only a player or 2 away, and they needed a third baseman in the worst way, you know, he was the guy that they really centered on to try to get. Of course, they have brought in Andrew McCutchen as well, as maybe one last hope that this franchise can bring this city another world championship.
Well, they've taken a huge hit, especially on the pitching front and their position players. I mean, you're talking about 2 regular starters that have been out for a long time in Panic as well as Hunter Pence. Suarez is second out of the inning, but they've not had Madison Bumgarner a single game this year. He was injured during spring training, and then recently the longtime Red Johnny Cueto. They're saying 6 to 8 weeks on him. We'll see about that.
Well, they've shut him down, and they don't think that he needs surgery right now. So they're going to do the best they can to just kind of let it cool down a little bit and see if that elbow can come around to the point where he can be, you know, Johnny Cueto down the stretch.
2 down in the inning. Here's Scott Shevlin. I want to send out a big congratulations. Big Reds fans, Corey and Aaron May. They were married over the weekend on Saturday. Their families have grown up huge Reds fans, and just like to tell them congratulations. Just getting married over the weekend. This will fall in, a base hit by Shepard. So he drops one just fair for the Reds' first hit tonight, a 2-out double.
Well, the theme that we're seeing so far with both these pitchers is batters putting the ball in play. Each of these pitchers have but 1 strikeout each. Very hittable pitch up there for Shevler as he's able to keep it fair. There's a little conversation there at home plate between Tucker Barnhart and Buster Posey. I mean, almost like a mutual admiration society. Catchers get into batter's box. You know, there's got to be a little conversation there, especially with Barnhart bringing home the Gold Glove iron last year.
Giants scored 3 in the bottom of the first inning on a couple of 2-out hits. We'll see if the Reds can come up with a 2-out knock here from Barnhart to get on the board. And they will get a 2-out knock from Barnhart, and they will get on the board. So this guy's having a nice year.
Well, he sure is. I mean, you know, when Tucker Barnhart started to go to left field like that, that's when his whole offensive production just completely turned around. I mean, that made him able to be an everyday catcher rather than a backup. Because no matter how good you are behind the plate, you've got to be able to produce a little bit at the plate. And boy, has he ever done that. That's a good run because that's a momentum run.
And there's a base hit by Romano down the left field line. His first hit in 13 at bats this year. Nobody was covering second base, so he just strolls right in there. So Major League 2-out noise, 3 straight hits.
Well, opposite field hitting really the key thing for the run producers tonight. Brandon Crawford sliced one down the left field line. He's a left-handed hitter. Barnhart goes the other way, and so does Romano.
Trying to get the big fella to look over at him.
When you weigh 270 pounds, you look over when you want to look over.
Today by AARP, look at these numbers for Hamilton in his career against the Giants. 337 hitters, 7 doubles, 14 batted in, 15 scored. Mercy.
Well, is it any wonder why when there were trade rumors circulating about Billy Hamilton in the wintertime, those rumors were centered right here in San Francisco?
And you know what's funny is with all those rumors, we were told by a high-ranking member in the Giants organization that it really never came close at all. Now, are we getting the whole truth on that? It's always hard to say. Right center field. McCutchen there, but the Reds get on the board and trail after an inning and a half by 2.
MLB.tv. Your subscription includes MLB at Bat Premium, allowing you to watch live baseball on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Stay in Reds history, as always, brought to you by the fine folks at Geico. May 14, 2009, I should say, Paul Janisch, his first Major League game and just his second Major League at bat, hit a walk-off RBI single in the bottom of the 10th, scoring Johnny Cueto, who was pinch running for David Ross. The Reds beat the Marlins 7-6. Reds had led that game 6-0 in the ninth before the Marlins scored 6 runs to set up Janish's heroics.
So, Jim Day, you know, we like to check in on you all the time to find out exactly where your assigned seat is in these different ballparks, and we only come here for one series a year. Giants bat leading 3-1 in the second inning. So where are you tonight?
I am at the far end of the Reds dugout, and this is one of these parks in which the bullpens are along, you know, side the foul
That's right,
lines.
right. They're in the field
So
of play.
all of the bullpen members are down here. So the whole team is down here, but this is one of my favorite spots, sitting here at AT&T. This is one of the best.
Two hopper at Scooter Gennett. So they have some very talented crew people here in this area. I had the pleasure for many years, a longtime director of the San Francisco Giants game. Extraordinary talented director Jim Lynch. Those were back in the days when Fox was throwing around money.
I
And
imagine
we all
they
traveled
threw a little bit
together.
of it your way, right?
No, I mean, we traveled a whole band of characters, and most of them were based right here in San Francisco. A good group, really good group. And then they, like me, they being the members of the crew, we've all come back, Chris, to being has-beens and wannabes. But you know what? That's okay too. There's my main man, David Benzer, Benny the Bull. He's putting together an incredible event along with the Reds. Just traveled back to Cincinnati. A strikeout fear, dealing with cancer victims. And he's a cancer survivor himself and traveled all the way back to Cincinnati. And they're going to have a big event at the ballpark and do a lot of work with adults and kids battling cancer. This guy's an amazing man. Dear friend for a long time. Benny the Bull. Can somebody tell him to give a thumbs up? Come on, Benny. He's working the Giants game. He can't hear us. All right, 2 down in the inning. And here's Blanco. Phil Castellini and Charlie Frank all met with David, and man, you get around this guy for 10 minutes, and whatever he wants to do, you're going to say, where do I sign up? So Romano looking for a quick 1-2-3 inning. That won't happen. A 2-out single into right by Blanco. Will keep the inning alive from McCutcheon.
One thing that is plaguing Romano so far tonight is his inability to throw the first pitch in for a strike. He is only 2 for 10. The 10 batters that he has faced as far as getting that first one in there. So as soon as you miss wide with a ball, you put the batter on the offensive.
McCutcheon extended his hitting streak to 13 in his first trip to the plate an inning ago with a 1-out double to left field, and scored the first of 3 in the Giants opening frame. Blanco can run a little bit, 3 steals in 5 attempts. Breaking ball fouled out of play. 0-2.
Yeah, the Giants are pretty much right in the middle of the pack in the National League as far as stolen bases. In fact, they trail the Reds by just a few stolen bases overall. Giants have 19, the Reds have 20. You'd think that the Reds would have many, many more than that with the speed that they have at the, either at Peraza and Hamilton. Top of the lineup, I almost said, but it's not always been like that.
Well, really, they're the only two guys in the whole team that run. I mean, it's not to say there aren't other guys that have a stolen base here or a stolen base there. But the Reds' speed is pretty much down to those two.
Well, the difference, though, is that the Reds have only been thrown out 3 times, so they've been extremely successful in that. The Giants have had 19 steals, but they've been thrown out 7 times. So now you're getting to the point where, you can start getting thrown out that much. It's not worth even trying because you kill more rallies than you're able to put forward.
Hot smash and another extra base hit for McCutchen. They're going to try and keep Blanco from scoring. They're going to wave him around. Here comes the throw. No, it's dropped by the third baseman, Suarez. I'm not sure he'd have had him anyway. And McCutchen, a pair of doubles tonight. The Giants get that run right back 4-1.
Well, both of doubles by McCutchen have been down the left field line. The first one nearly knocked the fence down. This one nearly knocks the glove off the third baseman, Suarez. He's able to slow it down enough, and that's maybe one reason why they were able to get that run in. Career hit for Andrew McCutchen, 1,500.
And that's career hit number 1,500 for Andrew McCutchen. Lead of the 2 hits coming in tonight. Now Posey. So a 4-1 game. Straight up in the air, and this will do it more than likely in the San Francisco second inning. But another scoring frame for the Giants. They lead 4-1. Night doubleheader Saturday, then an afternoon game Sunday. Don't miss fireworks Friday night. Family Sundays. For tickets, visit Reds.com. Top of the order for the Redlegs against Chris Stratton. Reds had 3 straight 2-out hits, producing a run in the second inning, but the Giants have scored 4. Winker way out in front of that off-speed pitch. Rolled over to the right side. Took a little off his fastball. I guess it said 90 miles an hour, but it didn't even look like he threw it that hard.
Yeah, you know, sometimes a pitcher will change speeds on his fastball without actually going from fastball to changeup. I think that may have been the case right there because he did have Winker out in front. I mean, his changeup is going to be around 84, 85 miles an hour. His fastball around, 92. So somewhere in between. That's when you learn how to pitch, when you start changing speeds a little bit at a time. One thing we've noticed that Tyler Mahle has done very well. Yeah, I think it's interesting that, Stratton is a guy that he really doesn't fall into that category of #1 draft pick. He was the SEC Pitcher of the year that he was drafted #1 by the Giants. And you think along with that, would come with some big, strong flamethrower that, gets it up there 97, 98 miles an hour, so that the scouting director, the first thing that comes out of his mouth is, well, he's a power pitcher and we expect him to be a top of the rotation kind of guy. I don't know that when you're drafting 20th in the first round, you get that kind of pitcher. So I think they went with a guy who was fairly close to the major leagues.
Stratton was up and down with him 3 different stints last year. Went 4-4, made 10 starts, pitched in 3 games out of the bullpen. Made his major league debut in 2016. So for a college pitcher and a #1 pick, it took him a little while to get here.
Well, he was drafted in 2012. I'm not really sure how much he actually pitched in 12. Professional baseball.
Only 8 games.
Because you're coming out of college, you figure you've got a lot of innings anyway. I think he wanted to pitch 8 games overall in that year.
And only 5 as a start.
So we had 3 years in the minor leagues, 3 full years in the minors before he made his major league debut in 16 at age 25. But he didn't jettison through the minor leagues. He didn't toil down there for 10 years either. And then they really didn't need him, Tom, this year, except at the very back of the rotation. But when you start losing your top 3 in the rotation, that's when you look around and you have to lean on a young man like Chris Stratton.
The ball hit very hard by Peraza, but able to get it is Austin Jackson. The first 2 retired here in the 3rd inning.
Yeah, I wonder if they prescribe to the launch angle here in San Francisco like they do in other ball clubs. I mean, because a lot of launch angle balls are harmless fly balls here. I mean, if you're going to play launch angle, do it at Great American Ballpark, or do it in Colorado, or do it in Milwaukee. But in a big place like this, maybe line drives are the way to go.
Well, really, that's the way their team has been built. I think they build this team with that in mind. Is you want guys that put the ball in play and that are good hitters. I mean, Posey hit some home runs. He's had some years where he's hit some home runs, but Posey, and as you brought up earlier, you got to take the ballpark into consideration and how many home runs he doesn't have compared to what he would have if he played somewhere else. But I mean, you're talking about a guy that's 300 or better hitter every year. Hunter Pence, when they brought him in, same kind of guy, good hitter. Votto's a good hitter. And he drops a 2-out single into left field, and the ball gets by Blanco. That'll be a single and an error.
I'm wondering if this ball maybe was snaking on him a little bit out there. Really not hit all that hard by Votto, but boy, we saw him pick up a handful of hits, and oh no, that was just a. That's why you have that thing on your right hand called a glove. Yeah, I was about to say how good the defense is in the outfield for the Giants, because they have 3 players out there that have all spent significant time as center fielders. Gregor Blanco is a center fielder on and off his whole career. Of course, we know what Andrew McCutchen has done as a center fielder. He's been an MVP. And right now it's patrolled by Austin Jackson, very fine defensive center fielder.
You know, our crew may have picked up on maybe Joey Votto tweaking something. Take a look on this swing and watch his reaction. There's something there.
Yeah, a little gingerly movement there. Yeah, that's.
I mean, he's still hurting down there. He just broke when Jeanette made contact towards third base. It didn't look like he was able to push off with much authority. When you know, you start. Well, there's no sense in speculating. We have no idea. Jeanette, a line drive, caught this time by Blanco. Hard hit ball, loud out. Reds trail 4-1. Ahead on the day's hottest sports topics, Undisputed with Skip and Shannon, 9:30 a.m. to noon Eastern only on FS1. First of three, the Reds and the Giants here in San Francisco. Giants have 4 runs and 5 hits through the first 2 innings. The Reds have 1 run, 4 hits. Giants bat in the third. Belt, Longoria, Crawford. The scheduled trio against Romano. With Belt, Crawford, Posey, and Pence, although he's hurt. That is a very core of the Giants team that they've tried to add to give it 1 more run. They have all been outstanding players, and especially postseason players, in winning the 3 World Championships here in San Francisco. Look out there at second base. Doug Eddings having to play a little dodgeball out there. That ball scalded by Belt.
Well, he went right down to get a pretty good looking sinker from Romano. You know, that is the type of hitter that they have tried to muster a bunch of here in San Francisco. Not necessarily home run hitters. I mean, he'll hit you, 15 to 20 home runs a year, Brandon Belt will, but he's always up around 270, 280. He's the kind of hitter that I guess you would categorize as he fills up the stat sheet.
Yep.
He takes a lot of walks. He doesn't strike out a ton. He gets a decent batting average. He'll drive in runs, but not 100 runs. He's just kind of an all-round good player where not one or two things really jump out at you as an MVP. He can pick it, though, at first base.
Longoria knocked in the game's first run with a 2-out single to center field, and then he would score along with Posey in front of him on the 2-run double by Crawford. McCutchen, 2 at-bats, 2 doubles, including an RBI. That came in the second inning.
Three-time All-Star. In fact, they thought when Evan Longoria broke into the major leagues, he'd been an All-Star just about every year of his career. But all 3 of those All-Star appearances were his first 3 of his career. Ages 22, 23, and then 24. Now, the one thing that Longoria does give you is playing time. I mean, he is playing just about every day. He had a couple of years there where he was injured. Back in Tampa Bay, like in 2012 or so, only was in 74 games. But the year after that, 160 games. The year after that, 162. So, I mean, he'll answer the bell.
That'll hang up long enough for Hamilton to get to it. First down recorded by Romano here in the third. Here's another guy, you made reference to Brandon Belt and about all the things he can do for you. Crawford's a similar kind of player. He's going to hit anywhere from 250 to 275. He's hit anywhere from 10 to 14 to 21 home runs. Generally, every year, he's a guy you can count on to knock in 75 or more. I mean, he's a run-producing shortstop. And that one just blistered right by Votto to the right field corner. They'll hold the runner Belt at third on a double by Crawford, and the Giants are hitting the ball solidly on their return home here tonight.
Well, they've got to figure out something to do with Brandon Belt other than a first pitch fastball in a very hittable part of the zone. He did the same thing his first time up, except down the left field line. I mean, right on the button here.
Reds pitching coach Danny Darwin will come out for a quick visit.
And that will give the bullpen a little bit of time to scramble around. Jackson Stevens is number 62, heads down there to warm up. Teddy Power runs down there first, and you try to squeeze out as much time as you can, but now with that visitation clock they have out there, you have 30 seconds overall to try to get your guy going.
It's interesting now that Danny Darwin is a major league pitching coach, and of course all the outstanding years that he had in the major league spanning over 2 decades. I mean, everywhere we go now, everybody knows who this guy is.
Yeah.
And, hadn't seen him in a long time, been in the minor leagues. A number of people were talking about seeing Danny Darwin for the first time in over a decade here at the ballpark tonight.
Well, he played for the Giants. In fact, the Giants were the last team that Danny Darwin played for. when he was 41 and 42 years old in 1997 and 1998. Survivor. I mean, you really got to love the game. If you pitch for, as you said, 2 decades, and you pitched in some era where they're paying some money out there. So I'm sure that along the way, after 21 years, I mean, he's got a tremendous pension. He's probably put away some money. So why else would you want to ride the buses and hang around the minor leagues and do all the things of which really come under the category of sacrifice, unless you really love the game and you love teaching pitching?
Which is why it will be interesting to see as we move into future years and you have players and all the money that's being thrown around now, where they will be secure for their children, their grandchildren, and their children. How many of them want to come back?
Well, you're right. And there are a lot of organizations that right now don't have a lot of former major leaguers in there. The Reds are the exception. If you look up and down the Reds minor league pitching coaching staff,
you're right.
It is loaded with guys that have not only just pitched in the big leagues, but have been really great pitchers there.
And players.
Yeah.
I mean, guys have played a long time. You know, Ricky Gutierrez might not have been the best player in the world, but he had a really long, good, solid major league career, and he's managing in the Red system now. You have Lenny Harris. He was around forever, among many, many others. Dick Schofield had a long major league career. Now the manager of AAA Louisville.
I think it makes a difference. It doesn't mean everybody on your staff needs to have been a major leaguer, because you got to have guys that understand the game. You don't need to be a big leaguer to have understood the game.
2-2 on Austin Jackson with the infield in. Trying to get him to chase that breaking ball. Didn't do it. Kelby Tomlinson, you see waiting in the on-deck circle. He's a number 8 batter. But right now, all eyes focused on this 3-2 pitch to Jackson with runners at second and third. 1 out in the inning. Missed again on that 3-2 breaking ball. Didn't miss by much. And we'll see now if Jim Riggleman will stay with Romano.
Oh, that was a pretty good pitch.
The signal was given from down at the bullpen that Jackson Stevens is ready. Doesn't mean they're going to bring him in, but he's set to go.
Well, you're down here with the number 8 hitter, Kelby Tomlinson, defensive first infielder, and then you've got the pitcher coming up next.
First pitch fastball in there, belt high. I'm stunned Tomlinson took that pitch. Especially as aggressive on first pitch fastballs we've seen his teammates so far tonight against Romano. The bases are loaded for the Giants. Infield in for the Reds. 1 out. And a breaking ball and a good one. This one did catch a plate to get ahead 0-2.
You know, when you talked about him taking that first pitch fastball time, you also consider the fact that the pitcher is batting next. That's why you've got to be ultra aggressive on anything in the zone when you're the number 8 hitter and runners in scoring position.
Nothing at 2 on Tomlinson, and here it comes. By the breaking ball again.
Third time this inning that Romano's had an 0-2 count. Now it's been to 1-2.
Base hit into center field will score 2 more. And the Giants now have their largest lead of the night, a 6-1 game.
Boy, that is one that I'm sure the Sal Romano feels that just let him get away. You had him 0-2. And yeah, now's the time to expand the strike zone, but he makes a mistake pretty much right down the center of the zone. And Tomlinson, a number 8 hitter in the lineup, is able to drive it through the box for a base hit, drive in 2, and send him to the showers.
So after a real good run here over his last 4 starts, a bump in the road for Sal Romano. He'll leave after 2 1/3, 8 hits so far, 6 runs all earned. Walks 2, fans 2. Jackson Stevens, our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. We're back in a moment. Two in and 2 on in the 3rd inning.
Stevens is 24 years old. In fact, he just had his 24th birthday just a few days ago. On May the 11th, the young man that was born in Oxford, Alabama. Made his debut last year, pitching 7 games. 4 of those were starts. And this is his 4th game of the 2018 campaign.
Saw him in the 5th inning on Friday night. He took over for Matt Harvey. Went 1 inning, allowed 3 hits and a run, struck out 2, didn't walk a batter. The pitcher will give himself up as Barnhart throws on Novato, gives Stratton a sacrifice, and the Giants have Jackson and Tomlinson now in scoring position. But 2 are out in the inning and 1 more to go. Well, this is a man you got to go get, because the guy on deck is rolling. McCutchen already a pair of doubles tonight. Didn't seem like a big deal when Blanco came up there with 2 outs and nobody on an inning ago. Got a little single into right field, but then he would score all the way from first on the 2nd double of the game by McCutchen. And a sneak attack by the Giants. They got a quick run after 2 were out with nobody on. 2-2. You know, you really got to give the Giants a lot of credit. I mean, when you consider the fact that they opened the season, they had Cueto healthy, but they had Samardzija and Bumgarner hurt. Samardzija comes back. Bumgarner's never been back. But when Samardzija comes back, Cueto goes down. And yet, you know, they're a game under 500, and they're 1 day removed from a 6-game losing streak. This team's hanging in there. They've shown a lot of toughness about them. Gone swinging is Blanco. And that'll do it. Giants get 2 more and lead 6-1. Giants team, and considering they're only 1 game under 500, I mean, the first 2 guys on the list are 2 of the top 10 pitchers in baseball. So you start there.
Oh, yeah.
Melanson has been an all-star a couple of times as their closer. Pence has had a great career. Now he's close to return after a thumb injury, and Joe Panic is going to be at least another month. So 20 up and 21 down. Not too shabby if Bruce Bochy's team can get some of those guys back. You have no chance in this division if you don't get Bumgarner and Cueto or Cueto back. None.
I think the interesting thing about their schedule so far, Tom, is that they have played the Los Angeles Dodgers 10 times already. They are 6-4 against the Dodgers. They played the Padres 7 times. They're 3-4 against them. They're 2-4 against the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Well, the 3 best pitchers in the National League West are all on the DL. We just saw Clayton Kershaw. He's out, of course, for the Dodgers. And then you have Cueto and Bumgarner. Now somebody in Arizona might argue Zach Greinke. Greinke's had a really good career. But right now, at this stage of his career, I'm not sure that you would think he's better than any of those other 3, although maybe you do. Robbie Ray might be the hottest of all of them. You know what's interesting about the Dodgers? You talked about the fact they played the Giants 11 times already. The Dodgers have also played the Diamondbacks 11 times already. I mean, if you're the Dodgers and, you know, all of a sudden you're trying to figure out a way to catch up to somebody who might be in front of you late in the year, you're going to have a hard time. That's a really weird schedule that those 3 teams, which generally have good weather, especially in April, that those teams have played that many times. And the Diamondbacks and the Giants, as you mentioned. There's a fly ball on the right. Boy, circling that one out there was Andrew McCutchen.
Well, he's such a good athlete and good outfielder that, you know, the whipping winds here in San Francisco, although they're not nearly as bad as they used to be down at Candlestick. It can be kind of confusing out there, especially in that corner. Candlestick, that was a whole new level of wind out there.
Well, compared to the rest of baseball, that was like playing in a different country.
On a different planet.
Yes, the better put, yes.
Candlestick Point was the nicest place on earth about 10 a.m. to 1 a.m.
Well, that's
1 p.m.
That's the old story. When they brought Stoneham out there to take a look, and he had first pick which city he wanted, San Francisco or Los Angeles. And, you know, whether you believe all the conspiracy theories or not, when they took him out there and proposing to him as owner of the Giants, this is where you would build the ballpark. They took him out there right around noon. Sunny, beautiful, no wind. Man, looking good. And behind the scenes, Walter O'Malley says, well, I'm glad you chose San Francisco.
Long about 7 o'clock at night, temperature drops 35 degrees, wind picks up to about 40 miles per hour.
And they called it the claw. It was one of the coolest things you've ever seen. It happened every night there. As soon as it would get dark and the winds and the temperatures you just described, it looked like a claw would come over from the upper deck on the third base side to just consume the field and the weather pattern seemingly every night. Of course, that was also the home of the San Francisco 49ers, and the irony being that, you know, all the great weather in San Francisco happens in the Indian summer. In September, October, they would play in the nice stuff. Base hit right field by Shevler. He's 2 for 2 tonight.
Yeah, he's got a little base hit to left field, a double that he kept right inside the line, and a ball that he finds his way through the shift right there. Second baseman, or maybe that's Longoria playing where the second baseman should be. Anyway, he gets it in there.
You know, the whole landscape of sports is changing so quickly over about the next year or two in this area alone. You've got the Oakland Raiders. I think this is going to be their last year playing here, and then they're moving to Las Vegas in 2019. You have the NBA team, the high-flying Golden State Warriors. They're moving from Oakland to a couple of blocks away from this ballpark into downtown San Francisco, building a brand new arena. And you wonder, what's the shelf life for the baseball team going to be like over in Oakland?
Haven't they been wondering that for at least 10 years?
Yeah. I don't know how they do it. I really don't. They're in Tampa. I have no idea how they do it. 1-1 on Barnhart. High fly ball into right field, and this one will fly out of here. And Tucker Barnhart all of a sudden has put the Reds right back in this one. He had an RBI single his first time, now a 2-run home run, number 3 on the year.
Well, this was a no-doubter because what I like to do is watch the outfielder. And Andrew McCutchen hardly even moved. He took a couple of steps and said, Didn't fly all the way into the bay, but that's a long way.
Now, as you move closer to the fair pole, you can buy a cheap one down there. That's only 309 feet. But where Barnhart hit his was 370, and you're clearing about a 22-foot wall up there. So Shevler and Barnhart have done major damage. Shevler 2 for 2, Barnhart 2 for 2. Tucker with 3 runs batted in. That duo has scored all 3 of the Reds' runs. And how about that? A 4-pitch walk to Jackson Stevens after the home run by Barnhart.
I remember reading a study a few years ago, Tom, about what happens after a home run, and maybe unremarkably, what you just saw is a dominant event that happens after a home run. The pitcher ends up walking the next batter more often than not. Of course, I don't know how many times that next batter happens to be the pitcher that you're walking.
A relief pitcher. Well, the Reds are right back in this thing. We're only in the top of the 4th inning, and it's a 3-run spread. Everybody needing to cover up tonight. You got fans in the stands sitting in parkas. All right, here's Billy Hamilton showing bunt, takes a strike. Billy flied out his first time up. Milwaukee has made the trip out west, starting a series tonight against the slumping Diamondbacks for the first time all year long. Arizona took a whipping over the weekend at the hands of the Washington Nationals. The Giants go on their road trip. They have a 6-game losing streak. In 10 games, they go 4-6, and they gained a half game in the standings. The way the Diamondbacks have been going until the last week, they could have been close to finish. But Arizona kept up its winning ways, so they caught a break. And 2 to Hamilton. And a fly ball in the center. The second out of the inning. Reds need Jesse Winker to start swinging the bat again. You know, when your team's rolling and you're scoring a lot of runs, you really don't pay a lot of attention when there are maybe 1 or 2 guys in your lineup that aren't swinging the bat well. And those 2 guys right now, after swinging the bats very well for an extended period of time, would be Winker and Peraza. Winker now on this road trip is 3 out of 15. But the Reds get a 2-run home run from Barnhart, who's knocked in 3 tonight to make it a 3-run game.
Anthony DeSclafani, we haven't seen him in a while. AA Pensacola made the start tonight, and Michael Lorenzen joined him. He came into the game right behind Anthony DeSclafani. And here's how it turned out. DeSclafani went 3 innings, no hits, no runs, no walks, struck out 4 through 31 pitches, so a good start for him. And Lorenzen, a clean inning, just 1 hit. He threw 12 pitches. And Michael Lorenzen in the bullpen would obviously be on the faster track back. They would like to give him an off day tomorrow, and then he will need to throw on back-to-back days or multiple innings or both. So look for about a week or 10 days for Lorenzen if all goes well to join the big club.
Well, the bullpen's been so good, but the big story right now, we showed you Joey Votto on that base hit he had back in the 3rd inning, appeared to be wincing in some kind of pain. Was not running well at all. And 2 innings later, his night is over. Naturally, if and/or when we receive any word from the Reds clubhouse on Votto's condition, we'll pass it along. If you weren't with us, this is what it looked like coming out of the box.
I mean, I'm not even sure if it's worth speculating on, Tom, whether, you know, it's a leg injury or, wow, that ball is clubbed, but it looks like it's going where balls go to die, which is that right center field corner out there, 421 feet.
That's incredible how far that is. I mean, it's just, you know, we get so used to having the best seat in the house. We're spoiled rotten, man, and you go to these ballparks, and most of the time, you know, we get fooled sometimes too, but most of the time when a ball leaves the bat, you got a pretty good idea. When you see balls hit like that, you know immediately in every ballpark we go to, except for here in San Diego, that baby is long gone.
It also shows you here that the importance of having some swift corner outfielders. You just can't have lumbering hitters out here that are offensive only players. You're going to have a lot of balls fall in, and the other team's going to score a lot of runs, and you can't drive in that many. Whatever formula they've been able to figure out here in San Francisco, it's worked here in the 2000s. Bruce Bochy took over this team in 2007 and then has 3 world championships to show for it.
And obviously everybody contributed to those World Series titles. That one off the end of the bat, hooked into left field by Posey. But I'm telling you, man, you know, that what we saw, and you and I were talking about the highlights the other night of the '88 World Series and Orel Hershiser and the 2 complete games and that 5-game World Series win over the Athletics. They were celebrating that team, the anniversary, this past weekend while we were in LA. But when you have your main guy who becomes basically unbeatable, and that's what Madison Bumgarner was. He was not going to lose. So every time he pitched in a game, he was leading his team to the win. Obviously, it's a team game. But it's what we get back to all the time. You know, you can have guys that have incredible careers. And I compare him to Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw is a first ballot slam dunk Hall of Famer. But whenever Kershaw has gotten into the playoffs, he's never been able to do what fill in the blank of other guys like Bumgarner. And it's not a knock on Kershaw. It's just once you get there, you need your very best to be the very, very, very best. And Bumgarner has been that a couple of times for the Giants when they've gotten to the postseason. It's like Verlander when he came to Houston last year. I mean, all of a sudden, you know, that's why you got Justin Verlander.
Well, that's why the Bobby Cox and the Atlanta Braves for so many years got the runners-up trophy.
That's exactly right. The only guy that stepped up and delivered the goods every year. I'm not saying a start here or a start there. It was always Smoltz. But the other two, in Glavine and Maddox, they were good. Yeah, Hall of Famers. 3-2 to count on Brandon Belt. Belt is fly to center, single to center, scored a run. Jackson Stevens' job obviously is just keep the Giants right where they are as long as he's in this game and give this Reds offense a chance to come back. They were down 6-1. The Barnhart home run makes it 6-3. 1 on, 1 out. 3-2 on Brandon Belt. 2 away.
Nice life on the fastball that Jackson Stevens throws right there and just basically throws it right by Belt. Belt now 1 for 3. There's our good friend Joe West down there at first base.
You're a good buddy. You gonna go out singing somewhere with him in town after the ball game tonight? Little country.
I haven't
little
been invited.
George
I may
Strait
run down there and find out what venue he will be at. Because he'll be somewhere. You can guarantee that.
I can see you and Country Joe up there handling an old George Strait classic.
Singing cowboy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I can see it. I can hear it. Popped up, short right. Scheffler went sliding 10 feet before he actually caught the ball. How about that? Nice play. All right, Stevens does his job. Let's have Peraza to start things in the 5th, down 3. Style. Cincinnati Children's changing the outcome together. And by your local Ford dealer, Ford. Go further. Welcome back to downtown San Francisco. Right on the San Francisco Bay. Otis Redding was singing about that about, what, 40, 50 years ago. Hard to believe that song. That was back in your heyday.
You're right.
One of the all-time great songs. Sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. Peraza shoots one into right field, not wasting any time with that 1-0 pitch. And now he's sitting on the dock at first base, and the Reds down by 3 with a leadoff man aboard in the 5th.
Well, he hit the ball hard his last time up. This time that pitch was on the really down the middle, even though Buster Posey was set up outside, and Peraza just waits a long time and shoots it through that hole. Well, that's a much better swing on taking that ball to right field. There was a time when Peraza was kind of looping his swing, and there was just no bat speed on that ball going to right. Everything was a bloop.
It's his first hit in 3 at-bats, and now the man who took over for the injured Joey Votto, Adam Duvall, will bat. And still no word yet on Votto. I'm sure the Reds director of media relations, Rob Butcher, is all over that story. And a base hit by Duvall the other way. So Duvall, his first at bat, dumps one into right field, and the Reds have first and second, nobody out, tying run coming to the plate. In the National League's Player of the Week, Scooter Gennett, breaking ball just served into right field. Scooter hit the ball very hard his last time up, a liner right at the left fielder Blanco. Yeah, Longoria racing in by bluffing the bunt there at third base. This is where Scooter ranks in 4 categories. Number of hits, 4th most hits, 4th best batting average. Leads a league in 3 hit games. Looking for his first hit tonight. Ground ball down to third. Giants will turn it over and get the double play. That's a big one for Stratton and the Giants. Well, that was not pretty. Tomlinson trying to make that turn, racing over to the bag and then throwing across his body, but he had enough on it.
I think Scooter did what he wanted to do with this baseball. Hit it hard and hit it to the left side where the pitch was. And you can see the tap step that Tomlinson had at second base. Kind of an awkward turn. Looked like he got there with the wrong foot. And then eventually had to get on his right foot to make the throw. Nonetheless, it was a double play.
Well, let's see if Suarez can bring the Reds a run closer with a 2-out hit. Suarez twice has played Pepper with McCutchen in right. Longoria backs up on it. Long throw right on the button. And after hits to begin the inning, a double play ball and a ground out, the Reds come up empty. Captain America bobblehead. Limited quantities of this collectible bobblehead are available. Purchase today at reds.com/themes. And the marble bobblehead is only available with purchase of this entire ticket package. Giants bat, bottom half of the 5th inning. Crawford has seen 3 pitches and 3 at bats. He had 2 doubles and now a ground out on the first pitch in his 3rd at bat.
Well, he hit a double down the left field line, a double down the right field line. This time he was trying for a base hit up the middle. Didn't work.
Spraying the infield. Jackson has popped up to second base and drawn a walk. Not much action around baseball tonight in the National League. In fact, there are only 3 other games. Earlier today at Wrigley, Atlanta beat Chicago 6-5. Colorado and San Diego down at Petco Park 3-3. They're already in the 6th inning of that one. And they're in the 7th inning in the desert, where Milwaukee has just taken a 4-2 lead over the Diamondbacks. Off the side of the mound. I don't know if that got a piece of Stevens' glove or not, but it took a lot of hair off that sharply hit ball from Jackson to get to Scooter Gennett 2 away.
Stevens is throwing a lot of strikes.
Chris touched on it earlier. Stevens, before he was brought up to the big league club this year, was in the Louisville starting rotation, so he can give you some length here in this one. And he'll take that snappy 1-2-3 inning. I tell you, this guy's throwing the ball well. Six-3 ball game. Giants leading the Reds in the opening game of this 3-game series. Well, this is a dynamic duo to start things against Stratton here. That would be Schebler and Barnett. Schebler a double, a single, 2 runs scored. Barnett drove in Schebler with a single in the 2nd inning. He drove in Schebler and himself with a 2-run home run to right center field his last time up. You have the pitcher spot due up fourth or third rather here in the inning. That's the number 8 spot, and this ball is driven into right field, and this one will fly out of here. That's a home run for Shebler. And now all of a sudden a 6-1 game has become a 6-4 game.
Shebler had an interesting day, I think, in San Francisco yesterday, or in Los Angeles yesterday, where he made outs on very weakly hit ground balls in the very first pitch he saw, I think, at every at bat. This time he has walloped the ball. A double down the left field line, a hard hit ball as a single in the fourth, and this bomb on a first pitch breaking ball.
And that will prompt activity for the first time tonight in the Giants bullpen. Pierce Johnson, a right-hander, will start to throw. That's the other thing you love about this ballpark, that in the field of play, both bullpens, because of such a small piece of property they built this ballpark on. I mean, it is a tiny plot of land.
Well, they forgot the bullpens when they originally designed it, so you put them back on the field where they belong.
It's cool to be able to see a guy getting warmed up, though.
Yeah.
Fans love it. Sit right down there and watch a real major league pitcher start getting warmed up.
I miss that about Wrigley Field. I know that it probably makes a lot of baseball sense, to have your guys separated and so on, but that was one of the cool things about being a relief pitcher, is going to Wrigley Field, making friends out there, trading baseballs for hot dogs. A home run and a walk. How about that? Same thing that happened back in the 4th inning after Tucker Barnhart hit a home run. The next batter, Jackson Stevens, walked, and now Bruce Bochy is taking the walk.
And that means Mr. Stratton will be taking the walk, because here comes Pierce Johnson making the jog in. Reds were down 5, now down 2. Hitting for the cycle, and this is the best triples ballpark here in San Diego in all the major leagues. And now taking over on the mound for the Giants, replacing Stratton, his right-hander Pierce Johnson, pitching for the 17th time. 18 innings, 8 walks, and obviously not a big strikeout guy.
Former first-round pick by the Cubs in 2012, the same year the Giants picked up Stratton.
And Rosell Herrera will bat for Jackson Stevens, who did an excellent job tonight, and he's just maintaining what has been Major League Baseball's best bullpen over the last 3 weeks. They are rolling. Stevens goes 2 2/3 innings of shutout baseball. He only allowed 1 hit, 1 base runner. Struck out 2. Real good job by Stevens. Broken bat roller. They're only going to get 1. As Herrera reaches safely on the fielder's choice. Billy Hamilton, a pair of fly balls tonight, 1 to right, 1 to center. Reds were behind 6-1 at the end of 3. They get the 2-run home run by Barnhart in the 4th. And they had something cooking in the 5th with 2 singles to start the inning, but Stratton was able to get a couple of double plays, or a couple of ground balls, one of them a double play. But then ran into trouble here in the 6th. Allows a home run to make it a 2-run game off the bat of Schebler. Followed that with a walk. Out he goes. Here's Johnson with 1 on and 1 out. We just received word, you may have overheard it through the PA system just above us, the speaker. And that's why we try to stay away from speculation around here. Try to. Lower back tightness is what they're reporting from the Reds clubhouse for Joey Votto. Lower back tightness. Pretty close over there. Good move by the right-hander Johnson.
The other part of that is you've got a left-hander throwing first baseman, so that swipe tag is so much faster when you've got a southpaw over there playing first base rather than a right-hander. The throw doesn't have to be perfect. With the right-hander, the throw has to be basically right on the money. Brazil's getting a lot of attention. Yeah, this is where Billy Hamilton is choking up a little bit. I mean, it's just a hair down there. He's choking up in there every count now, but this is where I would like to see him start choking up like Joey Votto. I know he's been advised by a number of different people to choke up, especially with 2 strikes. You got to control where that barrel is, especially when you don't rely on the long ball. They're staying on the phone in the Giants dugout. like Brandon Bell tried to slip that foot right in front of the bag right there and make Rochelle go around it. Almost worked.
3-2 on Billy Hamilton. Herrera running. Swing and a miss. And they got it. Struck him out, thrown out, double play. Reds get a run closer on the home run by Shoveler. Middle of the 6th. Giants 6, Reds 4. Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Same time tomorrow. Will come your way at 9:30 Eastern Time. Game coverage at 10. And Chris, there's a pitching matchup tomorrow.
Now Tyler Malley on the mound. The Southern California native will come up here to Northern California and take on left-hander Ty Block. Both of those guys sitting on 3-4 records. Something will be giving tomorrow. Jim Day, what do you got down there?
Well, Tyler Malley, as he told me before the game, he is miserable right now. He is really fighting it. It started with a fever in LA. The fever has gone away, but talking to him before the game, he's just stuffed up. He's got about a little bit of everything, but he says nothing is going to stop him from taking the ball tomorrow night, so he will be playing hurt, if you will.
Well, hopefully it's a quick fix for Tyler Malley. You never know how those bugs are going to be. He doesn't look too good right there with the hoodie on and yawning, but hopefully he'll be able to answer the bell. It might be a bullpen game after all.
Quite frankly, I'm stunned the guy's not back at the hotel.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, what's the point? If he's not feeling well, it's not like you're going to bring him in as a long man if you go extra innings. And even if you do, you can call him on the phone and get him out of bed. We've seen that happen before.
Yeah.
I'm just really surprised he's even sitting here. One, because he doesn't feel good, but as important, if not more importantly, it's too bad for him, but the possibility of somebody else getting it from him. And that's like sending a sick kid to school. That's why you don't see anybody anywhere near him. Austin Slater, the pinch hitter for the Giants, batting for the pitcher. And the new pitcher, what a year this guy's having. And that is Dylan Flora.
Well, by far the best run he's ever had in the major leagues, and he's pitched for his third team now. Cups of coffee with Tampa Bay, cup of coffee last year with the Cubs, and he's become a very important part of this bullpen, but he walks the first batter he faces.
That's kiss of death. Every time you start, we said it the other day. You say nice things about somebody, and then they...
From now on, all we do is give you the name and where he's from.
That's exactly right. Name and the numbers and move on. I'm not even going to read that graphic up there. I'm not. I'm not even going to bring it up. I don't even see it on there. Now, of course, that's all nonsense, and Floro's having a great year and should be recognized for it. That ERA, terrific. And he has Blanco leave his feet. One out. Well, they started this new award, the Bullpen of the Week. And the Reds won that award. And when you look at these numbers, no further explanation necessary.
Well, it's a new award, I believe, this year, Tom. So if you were to start handicapping that award and the teams that would be under consideration at the start of the year, would you ever even include the Reds relievers? I mean, based on what they've done the last few years, this bullpen has done the biggest turnaround of any bullpen in baseball.
I'll be honest with you, if they had Lorenzen and Hernandez at the beginning of the year, I thought it had a chance not to be 0.77 over a week. I'm not saying that, but you and I both talked about this in spring training. It had the makings potentially of a far superior bullpen than the Reds have been sporting over the last handful of years. Potential.
Well, I think that, you know, Hernandez is a strike thrower. Jared Hughes is a strike thrower, and that is the biggest difference right there. Because for the last 4 or 5 years, this Reds bullpen has been last in Major League Baseball in the number, or worst in the number of walks given up.
And home runs.
Bad combo.
You think?
Well, if you're wild outside the strike zone, you're wild inside the strike zone.
That's a really bad combo. Well, you break it down individually. You look at these guys. Look at Garrett and Iglesias. Neither one's allowed to hit in almost a full game. Hernandez was spectacular yesterday. Hughes has picked up his first save of the year. That was when they had to give Iglesias a day off in LA, and Bryce got his first career win. And we told you earlier already that, you know, Lorenzen will be a little while, but at least he's pitching now in the minor leagues. Now look, DeSclafani went 3 innings tonight, so he probably has 3 more starts minimum. Oh runner goes, throw down, they're going to get it. Whoa! Somehow Slater able to get that hand in there, because it appeared as though the ball beat him. But let's see if Tucker reached out to get it before the ball got to him. I don't know, he was going to be in there.
Pretty close.
Tucker way out in front of the Scooter, way out in front of the bag. That's a good 2.5 feet in front of the bag. Had to reach back behind him to apply the tag. Reds will not ask him to replay this. It's the first career stolen base for Slater. Big runner out there at second base here in the 6th inning. You're down 2, and the best hitter in their lineup right now at the plate. Peraza had his eye on the runner in front of him and doesn't get an out.
Yeah, you really wonder if maybe he was shielded a little bit by Austin Slater, or the ball just came up on him.
It's a bad break there for Floro and the Reds. Rather than a runner at third and 2 out, if you just make the play to first. They're on the corners with 1 out, and Buster Posey looks at ball 1.
Now, Floro, you saw that last pitch is a pretty good sinking fastball. I mean, anytime you have that pitch, you're one swing away or one good sinking fastball away from maybe a ground ball that gets you out of the inning here.
Clubbed into straightaway center field, and it's up against the wall. They're going to wave around McCutchen. And he stops. McCutchen does. They were initially waving him around, and the Reds caught a break because that was yet another throw that came into a cutoff man, where the throw was either off target or has not been handled cleanly. That's 3 of those tonight by the Reds.
Ron Wotus is the third base coach, and he didn't want to take any chances right here, not with 1 out. And McCutchen, it would have been close had they been able to field that ball cleanly on the relay. McCutchen watching the play go over the head of the center fielder, and now Wotus is going to put the brakes on. And that's when the ball gets away. You see the move by McCutchen. The Giants have second and third. They've scored 1 already in this inning.
And they lead by 3. On a walk and an error in front of the double by Posey. And they're going to score 2 more. Brandon Belt into the right field corner. And the Giants lead 9-4. Back up by 5 again.
Boy, Belt has hit a couple of pretty good pitches. And you're looking at one of them. He had a good pitch from Romano in the 3rd inning up the middle for a base hit. This time he really likes the ball down. I mean, look where this pitch is. Down below the knees. Doubles for the Giants tonight. That's the most they've had in any one ball game this year.
Longoria 1 for 2, drove in the first Giants run of the game in the opening inning. They scored 3 against Romano. Sal gave up 6 earned runs tonight in 2 1/3 innings. This inning started for Floro with a walk, and now he's a pitch away from his 2nd walk in the inning. Shevler will run it down for the second out of the inning. And now a quick message from Miami Valley Gaming.
Get ready to get lucky.
Dylan Floro's been charged with 2 runs so far. They're going to intentionally walk Brandon Crawford, and the 9th man to bat in this Giants 3-run 6th inning will be Austin Jackson. Jackson a pop up to second. He's drawn a walk and grounded out to Scooter Gennett. Good breaking ball there on the outside corner. First pitch slider is straight.
You know, the new intentional walk rule, kind of an oddity just happened there with Brandon Crawford. He has seen 3 pitches in 4 plate appearances tonight.
That's exactly right. Swung at the first pitch in each of his first 3 times up, and then not a single one to get that pass. Peraza having a tough inning. He's been on a really good run here lately, and a tough 6th inning here tonight. That'll be his second error, one would assume.
Nowhere to hide. You know, when you're an infielder, you make an error. This is the play that he can probably make in his sleep. But coupled on top of another one in the same inning, it's just a tough spot to be.
All right, so the bases are loaded. And I had said that Jackson was the 9th man to bat. Actually, this is the 9th man to bat in the inning, Kelby Tomlinson. Tomlinson came up there with the bases loaded in the 3rd inning, and he was the final batter that Sal Romano faced. Tomlinson had a 2-run single into center field. Floro is missing high and wide on every pitch to right-handed batters seemingly in this inning. They are loaded, nowhere to put him with 2 outs in the inning. 3-1 pitch. And the count runs full on Kelby Tomlinson. In this inning, you've had 2 walks, 2 errors, 2 hits, 3 runs. And a payoff pitch with the bases loaded and 2 outs. Gennett will gobble it up, and that's all. But the Giants get 3. 6-4 has become 9-4. We're off to the 7th. They scored 3, 1, and 2 on this single by Tomlinson for 6 runs in the first 3 innings. But the Reds started to get back in this game. A 2-run home run by Barnhart made it a 3-run game. Schebler a home run to make it a 2-run game. That was in the top of the 6th inning. And that was until Posey knocked in a run with a double and Brandon Belt a 2-run double down the right field line. And the Giants' lead is back up to 5 and taking over on the mound for San Francisco is a right-hander, Corey Gellan.
Well, Corey Guerin broke in with the Atlanta Braves back in 2011 when he was 25 years old. Spent 3 years with them. And the last 4 seasons now, including this one, he's been with the Giants. Solid guy out of the bullpen. 19 games already for Guerin. He was in 68 games last year.
That ball driven into left center field. That's the first hit tonight and 4 at bats for Jesse Winker. So he's aboard with a double to start the Cincinnati 7th inning. That's first ball he's really driven in a while, it seems like.
He stayed behind it nicely.
For that base hit, Winker's batting average was slipping down into the low 250s after being well above 300. His on-base percentage is still good. It's at 375, but that's down from almost 475, I think, over the last 10-12 days. So good to see him get aboard here, and now it's Jose Peraza.
Yeah, sometimes it's tough to resist the temptation of setting the bar of expectation as high as the player is able to get off to a great start.
Yeah.
So you think, well, I mean, if he's on base percentage just over 400, he's got to be able to sustain that all year long, right?
Well, you know, I got to tell you, the older that I get and the more baseball we get a chance to watch, and it's, it's not saying you know more than the guy sitting at home watching a game on TV tonight. I've never thought that, and I never will. But one thing, if nothing else, that I think that I've come to the conclusion, I'm not buying the hype on anybody. I'm really not. And I don't say that in a negative or sarcastic or pessimistic way. It's just that there are too many guys you never heard of that end up coming to the big leagues and they become really good players or pitchers. And there are just as many guys that get all the buildup coming up through the system that they don't even turn out to be average major league players.
So you're going to be from Missouri on that one, huh?
There's no doubt about it.
Show
I mean, you just show me what you can do when you get to the big leagues, and all the other noise in the minor leagues, let somebody else talk about it.
Guerin tries to, I'm not sure whether it's a fastball or just a breaking ball that spun out of his hand, but he gets Adam Duvall, and Duvall now is on for the 3rd time tonight after picking up for Joey Votto, their 2nd time tonight. Votto had a base hit 1 for 2, left the game. Duvall batted for him in the 5th, and then reaches now. The Reds have got 2 on base with 1 out.
Scooter Gennett, the batter. Pitch outside, Gennett 0 for 3.
Guerin kind of has an unusual little delivery. He's got a very short leg lift and almost a double clutch when he throws. It's almost like a second baseman. Very short arm slot, arm swing, kind of like a second baseman turning a double play.
Double play ball here. Second one hit into tonight by Gennett. And that will end the inning. 1 hit, 1 left. Middle of the 7th. Giants lead by 5.
To get insights from the players, follow Fox Sports OH on Instagram. Looking ahead later this week, the Reds will return home and face the Cubs, and they'll have a day-night doubleheader on Saturday. Now, they're able to add a player on doubleheaders nowadays, and usually that's the starting pitcher, but the Reds are going to get a break. They've got an off day before the series and an off day after the Cubs series, so they'll be able to stick with their regular 5. Jim Riggleman said today that it will be Sal Romano and Luis Castillo on Saturday. No particular order yet, but those two will go, and they'll keep the regular spots in the rotation.
All right, Jim Day, thank you very much. How you doing down there, Jim Day? You staying warm? You didn't bring that big league LL Bean gear of yours on this trip, did you?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, you got it on?
No, that's for the rain. I got the little fleece deal.
Well, who'd you get that from?
I got it from the Fox people, of course.
You did?
Oh, I got the logo on it.
Slater a base hit into center field.
He led off last inning with a base on balls. Austin Slater did his collegiate work at Stanford, where he was a teammate of Alex Blandino.
Like the effort there by Jeanette, but even if he fields that ball, there's no chance to throw out Slater, who got his first major league stolen base after that leadoff walk into 6th. Austin Bryce going to begin to throw in the Cincinnati bullpen. Back to the top of the order we go. This is the 5th plate appearance tonight for the leadoff man, Gregor Blanco. Okay, for a ballpark that hadn't been around all that long, and it's starting to get some years on it. I mean, it didn't open yesterday, but well, you know, you look around and there have been some great postseason moments and games that have been played in this ballpark in a relatively short amount of time. There's strike 3 called on Blanco. Good pitch by Floro. And I'm not even talking about just those World Series years. You know, they had some really good teams around here when Dusty Baker was a manager. And they had Felipe Alou. When he managed his team, they had some really good clubs. I remember doing a postseason game in here when they were playing the New York Mets in a division series, and J.T. Snow hit a game-winning home run over that high wall in right field. I mean to tell you, this place was rocking. They not only have a great fan base, they have a very enthusiastic fan base. Now, you know, the day in and day out, you'll get the comments about the wine and cheese crowd and all that kind of thing. But, you know, when they play big games and big series, this place is really jumping. Slater has his 2nd stolen base in as many innings.
Yeah, he's never really been much of a stolen base guy, even in the minor leagues. Reds are giving it up, and he's taking advantage of it. First big events they had here at AT&T Park when it opened in 2000. They lost the LDS that year, but you know, they had Barry Bonds.
Yep.
So he came into this ballpark already having been the best player with the Giants for the previous 7 years.
He took it to a whole new level here, though.
Yes, he did.
I mean, it was seemingly a splash town every night.
Well, they went from drawing 2 million people in 1999 to over 3.3 million people the first year in this ballpark, just by moving from Candlestick to AT&T Park.
Now, they've been pretty much over 3 million every year, right?
They have.
Yeah.
3.3 last year. talking about the fan base here, and they are avid, and they do come out, especially for the big events, and they follow the teams when they win. But if you talk to the team personnel, coaches, people in the front office, they will more characterize some of the fans here as spoiled, because they, you win a World Series every other year for 3 series,
Right.
and they expect that to happen every even year. And when it doesn't happen, they're like, well, why not?
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, that word spoiled might be, I'm not disagreeing with them, but I think we've seen a lot of other places that have, maybe not won the World Series every year, but they're going to the playoffs for sure year after year after year, a lot more frequently than you know what I'm saying, every other year. But you're right. I mean, you win 3 World Series and your fans are going to think, what's wrong with this team? I mean, in 2016, they made the playoffs. You mentioned they won the World Series every other year, 10, 12, 14. They made the playoffs again in 16. They had the 1-game playoff, if I remember right. That was the year they beat the Mets, I think. And then they lost to the Cubs in the division series. And the Cubs made quick work of the Giants in that series. That was a 4-gamer, 3 games to 1. So they didn't make the playoffs last year. Bruce Bochy is now in his 12th season as manager. How many more do you think he has left? You've known him a long time.
I don't know. I think he's hungry for another World Series, and they really thought, I believe, this year coming into it that, with the starting 3 that they had at the top of the rotation, and adding a couple of, veteran pieces like Longoria, McCutchen, that this could be the year, and it still may be the year.
I mean, Arizona looks like they're going to lose again tonight. They're down by 5, and the Giants are up by 5 here in the 7th inning. Game's not over yet. Neither one of them are over yet, but Giants would get back to 500. And Bumgarner actually threw today a bullpen session. So, he may not be far away from heading out to minor leagues to begin his comeback trail.
He went on the disabled list with a fractured finger that happened in spring training, so it's not like he's rehabbing a bad shoulder or a bad elbow. I mean, he just had to wait for the bone to heal.
But, in fairness, some will point out around here about Bumgarner. Let's remember now, he was hurt all last year.
Yeah.
So
that was his own doing.
Yes.
When he fell off the dirt bike, right?
Yes. And so, not only has he missed and going to miss at least the first 2.5 months of this year, he made a grand total of 17 starts in the big leagues last year.
And they lost 98 games last year.
Man, you look at those World Series numbers for Madison Bumgarner. Their strike 3 called. Let's take a look at Bumgarner on the way out. How's this sound to you for your #1 guy in the postseason in a World Series? How about 4-0 with a 0.25 ERA?
Gamer.
How we looking? Big leaguer. gentlemen. 9-4 ball game, and Guerin still on the mound, his second inning of work. Eugenio Suarez 0 for 3 tonight. Reds batting in the 8th inning, trailing 9-4. So this 6-game win streak very much hanging in the balance with 6 outs left to go. Got him swinging for the first out here in the Reds' 8th. Been a really good night tonight for the man who makes his way to the plate, Scott Schebler. He had a double his first time up into left field. Scored in that inning. In the 4th, had a single to right. Scored on the Barnhart home run. And then took matters into his own hands with a home run to right center field. For Schebler, number 5.
You like the cycle, Tom?
Love the cycle.
Well, he's a triple away from the cycle.
And if I'm not mistaken, the last Red to do that was Eric Davis 1,000 years ago, if I remember correctly. I believe that was sometime back in the 1980s. Yeah, 1989, June the 2nd, Eric Davis did it against the Padres. Now, we mentioned this is one of the real favorable triples ballpark because of that area out there, not only in the 421 area, but because of the sort of nooks and crannies in the outfield wall, and they can bounce off and shoot in another area. And you'll see a lot of 3-base hits here. We'll drive this one all the way to the warning track the other way before it's run down by Slater. 2 out. So a night game here tomorrow night, again the same time. Reds live at 9:30, and a game coverage beginning at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Boy, that's late back home. 10:15 first pitch, and then an afternoon tilt, which is really nice with the time spread, because that game will start at 3:45. That's a start time Eastern time, so our game coverage will begin at 3:30 with Reds live at 3 o'clock on Wednesday to wrap up this road trip. Reds have an off day, and they'll need it on Thursday. Get in very late through Wednesday night, early Thursday morning, and then of course they have that 4 games in 3 days against the Cubbies. Pirates will be in on the next homestand. And then the Reds are off again to the western part of America. They will go Colorado, Arizona, San Diego on their next trip. And then that'll be it for the West Coast for this year. You'll be through by the end of May or beginning of June. You know, we were talking about this phenomena in between innings, and I don't care if you come here every day of the week. If it just doesn't capture your imagination as to the order of all things in this world we live in, look no further than the birds beginning to circulate and hover around this ballpark. It is truly amazing. And even the locals who are here will tell you they can't believe it either. You don't see these birds all night long until right around the time that a game would normally be ending at this time of night, roughly 2 hours and 45 minutes after it starts, and just circling and waiting for food.
And they can be very aggressive, and it's really posed quite a problem here for a lot of the fans. I mean, they're dive bombing for just about any of the food that is left around and not necessarily waiting until the fans leave before they go after it.
Well, that's because the length of the games is so much worse now. They're used to 245.
Well, yeah, so they want the speed up rules too, right?
There's no doubt. And when you're hungry, you're hungry. If you were watching, you'll watch the camera start shaking up and down here. We're not joking around about this. They're saying it was a 3.5 magnitude earthquake, roughly about 2 miles east of Oakland. That was right around 7:15 local time tonight. And some commuters may have not even felt the jolt. But apparently they're feeling the impact. We're being told, Bart, that's a big train system around here. Were put on hold temporarily to make sure they could check out the tracks here locally. So how about that? Hopefully nobody hurt, no reports of any injuries or anything like that.
Except for Joey Votto.
That's exactly right. Lower back tightness. He had to leave the game in off. And that was him at the plate when it happened.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Except that would have been in his first at bat of the night. He got hurt in his second at bat, I think.
Could have thrown him off. And
so it would have been like the reverse of seeing a chiropractor there.
Exactly.
Right? Get you out of whack.
Exactly.
A jolt. Well, I've told the story many, many times. I was here the night of the earthquake in 1989 over at Candlestick Park. And there's a bolt deep into the night by Brandon Belt. Well, I tell you what, the Giants get back here at home, and they look like a different team. They've been a good club here at home.
Brandon Belt greets the Reds' new pitcher Austin Bryce with a splashdown shot. I thought it was a splashdown shot. As it turned out, it didn't get all that far. Far enough to count for 1 run. 10-6 game.
Back in the day when Bonds was clubbing those things out there seemingly every other swing. And they first opened this ballpark. It was so cool to come here. They'd have all the canoe, the kayakers, everybody out there. Evan Longoria hooks one into left field. This will be a double after the home run. And I'm trying to think. Remember the old Saturday Night Live guy, Father Guido Sarducci? Remember him?
Sure.
You know, he was a guy that was training those. What was the breed of dog? It was a something water dog. Is it Australian water dog or what is it? Portuguese water dog. And that was quite the to-do out here. So, you know, there'd be some of those dogs that would be in a kayak with the owner. And when the ball would land, I mean, that water, trust me when I tell you, it never warms up. That water's in the 50s. Pretty much year round. And so when the ball would go in to go get the ball, the Portuguese trained water dog would jump off the kayak, fetch the ball in the water, and then hop right back in.
Well, they'd have to catch the ball in the water before it sunk because baseballs do not float.
They'd be all over.
Ask Jim Day about that one.
Really? Jim Day, what's that all about?
Well, we figured we would. I think it was Chris and George were making a joke one day in Pittsburgh that maybe the ball is going to float to Cincinnati down the river. And so I took a baseball out there and threw it in. I think it was a minute 15 and it sunk.
Yeah, it doesn't sink right away. It's got to get waterlogged.
Yeah, we were ready for you in a kayak and everything, weren't we, Jim?
I did. I did the whole pregame show from a kayak. Those were the days.
Well, why don't you do one of those out here?
Well, that was like in July. And
well, I didn't say you had to get in the water.
Well, you know, have you been in a kayak?
Yeah, I've been in many times.
You do get a little wet.
Well, it all depends.
He has a point.
You know, you do if you're, you know, running the rapids or something like that, you know, going down a river. Hamilton racing back and will flag it down. What a play that was. And then the runner. I mean, if that ball falls, Longoria can crawl home. Even standing at second base. But, you know, Jim, the question that I would have for you is, we've established many times before about you having that big league LL Bean gear. And tonight you have the big league Fox gear.
Yeah.
Is there such thing as a Fox Sports wetsuit?
I'm sure one could be made. And I would need it. We'll go extra large on it.
We got to look into that.
Well, kayak is, you know, I'm a little top heavy, so.
Then how long would it take you to sink?
Challenge. Oh, I have a lot of buoyancy, probably hour or so.
Here's a guy that's been top heavy from time to time.
He probably doesn't sink either.
Kung Fu Panda back as a giant. Pablo Sandoval.
Well, you talk about a fan favorite.
Oh,
they
yeah.
just love this guy. Didn't go well for him in Boston. That's the other side of the earth for him.
Well, you know, you mentioned earlier about maybe the fans are spoiled. Some people believe that. You know, the fans are extremely supportive here of their players. They're not coming down hard in the local press. I mean, this is a pretty favorable to the athlete kind of a town. Now, there have been some owners that have been taken to task from time to time in this area, especially the football team. But it's really not the cutthroat sort of you better produce or else type of media following here. And Sandoval found that out firsthand. You go to Boston and you go to the East Coast, you go to the Yankees, you go to Philly, you better be ready. Because if you don't produce, you'll read about it every day. Duvall will handle the sharp ground ball by Sandoval. Now, Jim, the other thing I think we ought to look into is this setup they have in preparation of basically the World Cup of Rugby that's going to be played in this ballpark. And they're out there, you know, kind of just like as a little demo to maybe teach people the game, floating on a small barge out there. Have you ever played rugby, Jim?
I have not. I was a football player growing up and into high school and college, but never been in a scrum.
But I bet you'd have been a good rugby player. I mean, being a football player, you got to be a tough guy.
Well, it's probably the one thing that people are surprised about, that at one day I was actually an athlete. There was a day.
You were a good football player.
Well, I wasted my talents.
You're
away.
in your
That's
high
another
school Hall of
story.
Fame, right?
Yeah, that's another story, though. I wasted the talents away. I'll write a book someday. I'll tell you that.
Well, look, we can talk about you playing rugby. We can talk about you playing football. I want to talk about Jim Day in the Fox Sports wetsuit, riding a unicycle on his way to getting in a kayak. Belterra Park, Cincinnati. Spacious, luxurious club. Got a full-service bar, grab-and-go concessions at the home plate market. Get your Scouts Club tickets today at Reds.com/premium. Nice place, really nice. Put that in 2 years ago. Giants are going to dip into their bullpen after 2 solid innings from Guerin. And they'll bring on Jose Valdez. And here's a special moment. A local boy who's made it to play for the Giants in his hometown. And that's Alex Blandino. He was so excited. That interview Jim Day did with him after the game yesterday, where he had the suicide squeeze to bring in a run. Blandino had a couple of hits, scored twice yesterday. Hails from Mountain View, California, and played collegiately in Palo Alto, California at Stanford. That's ST, Stanford, not Samford, Stanford. He has to be so excited. His family and friends here tonight. See if he can get a base hit. Grew up a Giants fan. Talked about it the other day. I mean, how cool does that have to be for Blandino to have Buster Posey right there behind the plate? when you grew up rooting for your hometown team and he was the man.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Two and two on Alex Blandino. That locked him up. Gosh, I wish we could really bring it to you like in 3D, these birds.
You know, Tom, the birds disappeared for a while, for about an inning or so. They went away, and then now they've come back. And I'm wondering if maybe Bruce Lee showed up, because there's a red-tailed hawk that has taken up residence here at AT&T Park starting last November. And when he is around, there is very little other bird activity. He's been spotted by a number of the workers here, that when he shows up, bye-bye seagulls. And it seems like they may have spotted him.
And that's why they play that music that incites the crowd to start clapping, because it will temporarily kind of get them flying out of here, but they figured that out pretty quick.
You know, when they first noticed that it was going to be a big problem, there were a number of experts in San Francisco that urged the Giants to hire a falconer or two to keep the seagulls at bay. Because you fly a few falcons around here, the seagulls will find another place to go. The Giants did not think that was cost effective. Billy gets it on the ground for a base hit.
So you saw some of those fans out there. I mean, those birds have taken up residency out there in the seats in deep right center field, where there can't be any more than 20 people sitting out there.
Well, I would imagine that the fans have a lot to do, and the tidiness of the fans would have a lot to do with whether the birds are going to be roosting next to them or not. I mean, if you take your garbage and you throw it away instead of leaving it on the seat, you know, the bird won't have anything to eat.
That'd be way too much to ask for most people in this day and age. Way too much to ask. You ever seen the way so many people don't even have their kids clean up stuff like that? You kidding me?
Well, I don't know how anybody could leave, you know, garlic fries anyway. I mean, I'm eating the whole pack when I'm buying one of those.
Believe me, I'm well aware.
We'll find out tomorrow for sure.
All you need to do is get on a Reds charter flight and you can figure out about who's cleaning up after themselves. Base hit in the right field, so a two-hit game tonight for Winker.
A double
in fact,
left.
go ahead, Chris.
A double left his last time, and that one into right field. It's
So the Reds down 6 here in the 9th inning, string together base hits from Hamilton, his first hit tonight, Winker his second hit tonight, and now it's Peraza in there, a strike. Peraza out of there looking, and the Reds are down to their final out. So here's Duvall. Took over for Joey Votto. This is his third trip to the plate. He has a single and has been hit by a pitch. Stratton, the pitcher of record for the Giants, went 5+, allowed 4 runs, but that will be good enough, more than likely, to get a win tonight. Romano gave up 6 and 2 1/3. Ball in the air to deep left center field, and Duvall plays long ball. That makes it a 10-7 game. Well, what a way to come off the bench tonight for Adam Duvall. Single, hit by a pitch, and 3-run home run.
And especially the venue in which he is hitting the ball so well. Of course, he, the former Giant, a lot of people thought that he was worth keeping around, but he ran into such problems here at AT&T Park that they just decided to let him go. And they really thought that after a while that this ballpark kind of got into his head, as it does so many sluggers who relies on home run balls, and you hit a ball really well and the ball just dies. Best news about that home run from a Reds fan standpoint is that he got the souvenir out there.
That's right.
So it's not coming back on the field.
Scooter Gennett 0 for 4. Has bounced into a pair of double plays here tonight, and this is in the air to left field, and this will tie a ribbon around this one. So the 6-game win streak for the Reds is over. (10-7) the final. Giants win it. We'll be back with more in a moment.